New audiobooks on our channel every week for free. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out. Do you often think about what you could accomplish if you overcame your laziness, stopped getting distracted by irritants, and stopped wasting time? To stop regretting lost time, you must learn how to use it wisely. This book, published by AB Publishing, contains real strategies that help develop willpower and self-discipline, and teaches how to achieve your goals. If you're planning to start a new life on Monday, dedicate your weekend to this book. Introduction. The issue of self-discipline comes up very often when it comes to personal development. It's no secret that success in life is determined not only by knowledge and skills, but also by the willingness to work, proper motivation, and the ability to overcome yourself. Successful people can consistently finish what they start without being held back by emotions. So what is self-discipline? It is the ability to make yourself do something to get results, regardless of changing external conditions, problems, needs, bad moods, harmful influences, laziness, or lack of motivation. The ability to do this is one of the core principles of success. Without it, you can't get what you want. And without self-discipline, the necessary actions simply won't be taken, or more often, they won't be completed. There will always be 1,000 excuses. Discipline actually gives you freedom. That might be hard to believe at first. Many people equate discipline with a lack of freedom. But in reality, it's the opposite. Undisciplined people are slaves to their moods, desires, and impulses. Self-discipline involves acting based on what you know, not on what you feel in the moment. What does that mean? It usually means sacrificing temporary pleasure for meaningful life goals. Only self-discipline will make you work on a project after the inspiration is gone, go to the gym after a long day at work when you'd rather lie on the couch, wake up early for a workout and a sharp outfit, skip the pastry when temptation strikes, or check your email at set times and send the messages that matter. Why does a person need self-discipline? Perfect self-discipline helps you complete everything you've planned and succeed in almost any endeavor. It helps you get rid of harmful and unnecessary habits, including procrastination. Just imagine what you could have already achieved if you always made yourself stick to your goals no matter what. Imagine you lost weight, earned a degree, got your dream job, or made a lot of money. Without self-discipline, those intentions never become reality. With it, obstacles turn into victories. Self-discipline is one of the most powerful and accessible tools for personal growth. This means of self-control can give you the strength to quit smoking or say goodbye to excess weight. There are virtually no problems where self-discipline isn't required. Its greatest reward is the ability to achieve amazing results and set more ambitious, meaningful goals. Chapter 1. Self-discipline, the first steps. If you're reading this book, chances are your self-discipline is weak, like most people's. You may not yet be able to do things you'd like to, such as play the violin. But you can overcome yourself, strengthen your discipline, and finally learn what you've always wanted. Yes, self-discipline is not something you are born with. It can be developed. You can improve your discipline just like you can train your body. It doesn't happen in a few days or weeks, but in the end, you'll make serious progress. So where do you start? First, work on your mental preparation. Without the right mindset, self-control, and a sincere belief in yourself, you're doomed to fail. Strangely enough, mental readiness for change is the weakest link in self-development. There are no universal rituals that can help perfect your personality because everyone is too different. That's why the first stage of developing self-discipline is thorough self-analysis, a restructuring of your mind and subconscious. If you ignore psychology, you limit yourself with false beliefs about your own capabilities. Your success will only go as far as the limit you impose on yourself. First, change how you see yourself, not your behavior. How? Become self-aware. You want to learn to act according to what you believe is right, regardless of how you feel right now. So, the most important part of self-discipline is self-awareness. You need to understand what behaviors and traits reflect your goals and values. This process requires self-reflection, ideally in written form. Take the time to write down your goals, dreams, and ambitions. Self-discipline depends on knowing what you're doing and what you're not. Think about that. If you don't realize a behavior is unacceptable, how will you know to act differently? If you constantly struggle in a certain area of life, the root cause is probably your refusal to accept reality as it is. If you don't understand what's holding you back, you won't know what to change. You'll experience short-term wins in small things and make major mistakes in big ones, and likely blame outside circumstances instead of acknowledging that you need to grow stronger. That's why it's so important to understand that without serious inner work, you won't get far. As you work on developing your self-discipline, you'll begin to notice unnecessary behaviors. You might catch yourself biting your nails, skipping swimming lessons, buying another pastry, or constantly checking your phone for messages. Building self-discipline takes time. Eventually, you'll start to notice those little lapses before they turn into actions. That awareness will help you make better choices, ones that align with your goals and values. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Get ready to shift your mindset, because the outcome of any situation depends on its cause. The cause of personal growth is always an idea or belief. Throughout life, each of us gathers and accumulates experience. That experience shapes our self-image, sometimes accurate but often not. The problem is, regardless of the truth, we tend to believe our own ideas about ourselves. And once we believe something, it becomes our reality. Undisciplined people often believe they simply can't get their lives in order. They reinforce this belief by convincing others of it too. These limiting thoughts directly affect the quality of life. Our minds are built in such a way that once a belief is deeply rooted, like the belief that we're not good enough, it starts to control our behavior. The only way to change this is through serious mental restructuring. Sadly, our own limiting beliefs often stand in the way of personal growth. They trap us and prevent us from finishing what we started. To achieve real results in building discipline, you must be willing to let go of old habits and ways of thinking. You must be ready to fight through your own doubts and self-imposed limitations. Even if you understand the need to change your approach to life and time, and even if you realize that personal growth is necessary for success, you'll still feel fear. You'll hesitate to make any changes. That's human nature. We stay in our comfort zones as long as possible, even if it leads to failure. But the only way to grow is to face uncomfortable truths. One of them is this: self-discipline is not something you practice occasionally. It must become a regular, structured habit. Yes, your life will change. At first, it'll feel awkward and unfamiliar. But the rewards will be more than worth the discomfort. Set the right goal. Deep inside, everyone knows what they truly want from life. When you start listening to your inner voice, you'll understand what's been bothering you and why you've chosen to build discipline. If you want control over your life, you must first define what you're aiming for. You need a clear mental image of who you want to become. Only when you understand what you want can you begin to create a plan to get there. Once you identify what's most important to you, your life will naturally begin to reorganize around achieving it. Having a clear dream, whether it's a house, a career, money, or a happy relationship, makes you more aware of opportunities and increases your chances of success. Be sure to write your goals and desires down. Putting them on paper is a simple but powerful step toward turning dreams into reality. Make a promise to yourself. It's not enough to just write your goals down. You have to make a real internal commitment to achieving them. Without that, when the alarm rings in the morning, you'll hit snooze and skip your workout. If you haven't made a promise to follow through, you'll quit at the first sign of difficulty. If you've tried to organize your life before and failed, start by making a conscious decision this time. Promise yourself that you'll finish what you started. Set a deadline for your goal, and define the conditions that will show you've succeeded. You'll need to monitor your progress for a long time and keep track of how far you've come. As the saying goes, what can be measured can be improved. On the road to success, you'll face many distractions, unexpected situations, mood swings, poor health. All of these can throw off your plans. That's why discipline depends so much on courage and the ability to say no. Everyone gets thrown off track sometimes. And the more often that happens, the harder it becomes to stay motivated. That's why it's so important to stay focused on your path. As you start winning small personal victories, your confidence will grow, and sticking to your discipline will get easier. Learn to talk to yourself. When we expect a specific outcome from a situation, we tend to get exactly that. Once we believe something will happen, we start to notice only the information that supports it, and our expectations are confirmed. Knowing this mental pattern, you can use self-talk to reinforce positive beliefs about yourself, or even create new ones. The more you focus on a personal quality, the more it becomes part of you. Your behavior becomes automatic, shaped by your habits. For example, when people fail to meet their own expectations, they often internalize that failure. They tell themselves, "I failed again," or "It always turns out like this." These thoughts create negative patterns that lead to more failure. But the opposite is also true. A positive inner dialogue can help you act in ways that serve your goals. That's the foundation of many self-training methods. The key to all of them is simple. Don't criticize yourself in hard moments. Instead, program yourself for success. Rather than beating yourself up, describe how you'll act next time, in your mind or on paper. Don't dwell on your weaknesses or collect failures. Just say, "Next time, I'll do this differently." That one statement creates a productive feedback loop with your subconscious. Instead of storing failure, your mind now stores a plan for future success. And when you do something right, when you feel proud of your actions, make sure to reinforce that too. Tell yourself, "That's like me. That's who I am." Simple affirmations like that are powerful tools for building self-respect and self-confidence. Once you master these internal conversations, once you stop simply criticizing yourself and start recognizing your strengths, it'll become much easier to tackle challenges that once felt impossible. Plan small steps. When you're ready for real change, it's time to plan. No big goal is achieved overnight. Big dreams take time. So once you've defined your goal, break it down into small daily steps. Start small and be consistent. Everyone has limits. If you push too hard too fast, you'll burn out quickly. Use a progressive approach. Gradually increase the difficulty as you go. This is how you grow your potential over time. But even with a plan, two big questions remain. How do you get started and how do you keep going? To answer those, we need to talk about willpower. Your fears and doubts can harm you, but they can also be of great service. To make your goal more realistic, you need to listen to your worries and objectively assess potential obstacles and challenges. Ask yourself, what could prevent me from reaching my goal? This will help you understand what you need to eliminate in your surroundings. Be sure to make a complete list of possible obstacles, trying not to miss a single detail. Of course, you won't be able to foresee everything right away, but the better prepared you are for obvious obstacles, the easier it will be to handle unexpected ones. Learn to be persistent. It's easier to let go of old habits and distractions in ideal conditions, but no environment will make you act if your enthusiasm fades. And ahead lies a lot of routine and boring work. These are probably the most unpleasant parts of any journey toward a goal. Without persistent effort and determination, it's impossible to succeed. Persistence is your ability to keep following your plan of action to achieve a result, regardless of the obstacles and difficulties that arise. It helps you move forward when you clearly understand the importance of your goal but lack motivation. Hard, consistent work will generate motivation once you start seeing clear, tangible results. It's your job not to give up as soon as perseverance is required. Once you experience the reward of overcoming boredom and difficulties at least once, you'll remember that positive experience and draw energy from it to keep going. Naturally, daily challenges and habitual laziness will constantly knock you off your rhythm. You may even feel like it takes too much effort to overcome yourself. In those moments, take a break and remember the benefits your goal will bring. Keep reminding yourself of them until your determination strengthens again. Think about how your desire and aspiration are more important than routine struggles or personal flaws. But when you're faced with a whole wall of tasks, it's hard to think about the final reward. If remembering the benefits doesn't help, don't focus on the end goal. Focus on the next step. Do one small task at a time without thinking about how many are left. If your mind starts worrying about how much work still lies ahead, you might abandon your goal. Step by step, this is the main principle of perseverance. Take action today. Unfinished tasks pile up and turn into a catastrophic lack of time. Self-discipline helps fight this snowball effect. After you've written down everything you truly want to achieve, start acting. Return to your big plans every day. Even if you don't manage to do everything, dedicate at least a few minutes to your goal. Skipping days weakens your determination and willpower. Even if you only make one small move, it will strengthen your inner resolve and make it easier to act the next day. This creates a compound effect, multiplying your mental strength and allowing you to set bigger and more ambitious goals. To reinforce the positive influence of small wins, record a personal mantra. This is like me. I am training my willpower. Find a mentor. Ask a trusted friend or relative to monitor your self-discipline progress. Knowing how your success looks from the outside is important. A mentor can often see what you're doing wrong and help you correct it. This kind of external control helps you quickly adjust to a new rhythm and behaviors. It's also helpful to share your plans with a partner who can track your progress. After all, every athlete and Olympic champion has a coach, someone who watches from the outside and enforces discipline. But don't fully rely on your mentor's authority. Your ultimate goal is to become independent and act out of your own will. Learn to meditate. Though widely recommended, meditation remains a mystery to many. People who try it often feel bored at first and quickly give up. When beginners try to focus on their goal during meditation, they often feel anxious within minutes. That's why meditation is an excellent tool for training and strengthening willpower. When your aim is to build self-discipline, meditation helps you focus on your priorities and clear your mind of everyday clutter. A few minutes of meditation can teach you to forget laziness or bad moods and fully shift your attention to effective work. At first, you may feel the urge to quit this strange and seemingly useless activity. But over time, you'll learn to control your thoughts. First, you'll be able to hold a meditative posture. Then, you'll be able to clear your mind. Eventually, meditation will become a unique tool for self-control. At the end of each session, give yourself a call to action, and soon you'll notice your productivity increasing after each meditation. Relax your body so that discomfort doesn't distract you. Focus on your breathing or calming sounds, and once you've calmed your inner worries, make the decision to act. Stick to one goal at a time. When you're just starting to develop self-discipline, don't fool yourself into chasing multiple goals at once. Focus on one goal at a time. Once you achieve it, move on to the next. This helps you conserve your energy and direct it toward completing important tasks rather than juggling priorities. Learn to deal with short-term temptations. There will be moments when you'll want to give up or deviate from your plan. You'll come up with lots of excuses to procrastinate or avoid something. Your emotions will sometimes take over, and that's okay. But blindly following fleeting feelings will never bring results. Every achievement reinforces your willpower. So how should you act when you're tempted to choose comfort over discipline? First, recognize that your choice affects how fast you'll reach your goal. Then allow yourself to feel the resistance. Say something like, I don't feel like doing this right now, but I know it's necessary. I've committed to building my self-discipline. The best way to strengthen willpower is to do what I don't want to do. So if I start now, I'll achieve two things: results and personal growth. After this internal dialogue, take a few deep breaths, relax, and shift your focus away from the discomfort. Then start acting. When we face temptations, we often think the effort will be painful and unrewarding. But it's the opposite. Going against your goals causes stress, while making progress brings relief. Take time to praise yourself for choosing discipline. Lock in this feeling, it will fuel your motivation next time. The more you resist temptations, the stronger your motivation becomes, until it eventually forms into a useful habit. Track your achievements. One of the key ingredients for success is positive feedback. Without it, you can't maintain consistent enthusiasm and inspiration. Always write down or mark your wins, even small ones, in a notebook or planner. When you feel discouraged, reread your notes. Don't forget to keep updating the list. Every time you look at it, you'll reinforce your self-confidence and your belief that you can overcome difficulties. At first glance, all this might seem like extra work, but forcing yourself to act without visible proof of progress is bound to fail. Don't underestimate the power of feedback. Otherwise, you deprive yourself of an essential support system and may never reach your full potential. Tracking progress and rewarding yourself is a very valuable habit. It becomes real the moment you face serious difficulties or see the first results, and with them comes fatigue. It's important to understand that a decisive approach is only for those who are ready to take real risks. It's clear that most people don't take such radical steps. That's why they remain just ordinary people all their lives. The simplest and most gentle way to cut off the path back is to make a public declaration of your new habits. Tell your colleagues, friends, and family that from this moment on, for example, you are quitting smoking. Public accountability can help you stay committed to your path. Seek inspiration every day. The easiest method for sensitive and emotional people to recharge their motivation is to use the vast amount of information available in today's world: audio recordings, books, articles, forums, seminars, training sessions, and more. If new information can give you optimism and a desire to move forward, look for it. But be careful with your sources. Try to minimize negative influences. Visualize your goals. To turn your desires into goals and goals into motivation, the technique of visualization is used: mental imagery. It's the ability to see your future reality in vivid images. When a new, exciting idea appears in your mind again and again, over time it transforms into a clear, detailed, and recognizable mental image. Visualization is also called controlled imagination. It's one of the most effective and accessible triggers for any kind of change. Visualization is a conscious process where we focus on an idea until the imagined image starts to evoke the right emotional response. Specifically, a surge of inspiration and a desire to act. Only a vivid mental image, a detailed first-person representation of the situation in the present tense, can help you change your reality. Proper visualization isn't like watching a movie. You can only push yourself to act through mental scenes where you are the main character, acting in the moment. You must not only imagine yourself in a certain setting but reinforce the image with a conscious affirmation. That is, return to your internal dialogue. Only then can you hope for results. Visualization is a deliberate process that builds internal conviction strong enough to take action. To make visualization work, you must inject strong emotions into the imagined scene. Visualization is a kind of self-training, a form of intentional self-suggestion. The effect of visualization relies on a psychological principle called displacement. If you place a glass of dirty water under a faucet and start pouring in clean water, eventually the clean water will displace the dirty. The same goes for thoughts. Using mental images is a powerful way to reprogram yourself for success. Just repeat them every day to change your life for the better. Compete with yourself. To understand what you can achieve, compare your current state only with where you are heading. The key is to compete with yourself, not others. Comparing yourself to others can quickly demotivate you. Even if you start with enthusiasm, you'll soon lose energy if you measure your success by someone else's standards. Remember, your only true competitor is yourself. Ask yourself only one question: am I better than I was yesterday? Thirdly, a shower activates the nervous system. Moreover, the vascular system comes into tone after this procedure. After these actions, you will definitely wake up and be ready for any day, no matter how hard it may seem. Most likely, you already have many personal rituals, they just lie outside your conscious awareness. Rituals give us a sense of comfort, continuity, and safety, which frees us to improvise and take risks. Rituals create a stable framework in our lives, within which creative breakthroughs often occur. They also free up time for recovery and renewal, in other words, for restoring our internal energy. This is the state of flow. Everyone is probably familiar with the feeling of inspiration. When your hands move on their own, your thoughts flow in the right direction, and it feels like you can move mountains. These sensations together create the so-called state of flow. It's essential to know how to induce and maintain it. Applying self-discipline includes the following stages: choosing a goal, creating a plan to achieve the goal, executing the plan. When you see the goal, you can create a plan in a state of flow. But by the time you get to the third step, inspiration might already be gone. Many people notice that they live in a clear dynamic. They only feel the desire to work or act when the environment is favorable. A good night's sleep, seeing the sun, receiving praise or approval. But as soon as something goes wrong, the desire to move forward disappears. So don't try to build long-term plans that require a high level of willpower every day. Willpower is unstable, especially if you are just starting to train your personality. The state of flow should be used as efficiently as possible. Because it doesn't last for weeks, it dissipates after a few days. You need to consider this when defining your goals and the methods to achieve them. It's best to use the flow state for planning and organizing your surroundings. Think about which actions you can turn into rituals so you can perform them automatically. The limitations of conscious will and discipline lie in the fact that all actions requiring self-control, deciding what to eat, managing disappointment, making an exercise schedule, or handling a complex project, all draw from the same small pool of energy. The power of rituals comes from the fact that they save energy, unlike willpower and discipline, which require us to push ourselves into action. Well-structured rituals pull us forward on their own. If we don't follow them, we feel worse. Because willpower and discipline are far more limited and valuable resources than most of us realize. They should be used selectively and sparingly. Using them in one area means they become less available for another. The sad truth is that we have the resources for only a very small number of conscious actions per day. So, when you sit down to make a plan, remember that your energy peak is temporary, and relying on it daily is unrealistic. This will only lead to failed plans and disappointment. It's better to achieve a small success and move forward gradually than to create a grand plan and fail completely. Basic planning. It's no secret that proper planning plays a major role in everyone's life. Huge or small structured to-do lists help free up memory. You offload tasks stored in your brain, freeing yourself up to focus on the current task. That's why it's so important to dedicate time specifically for planning. Include everything in your to-do list, starting from the smallest tasks. Create detailed plans regularly, preferably at night. That way, obsessive thoughts won't haunt you while you sleep. And in the morning, after your usual rituals, you won't have to think about what to do first. You'll just get started. Another very important task besides creating a list is organizing it properly. How should you categorize your tasks? Choose your own system. That way, you'll understand what works best for you. You can sort them by how much time each task takes, or divide the list into areas of life or work. At the beginning of the list, write urgent and time-sensitive tasks. Each completed task will undoubtedly motivate you to tackle the next. Assign small tasks to specific times of the day. Try to work within the timeframes you've set in your plan. With proper planning, you minimize the chances of accumulating leftovers. Leftovers are tasks that were postponed and have started to pile up. They drain your energy significantly. Not only do they accumulate and require much more effort later, they also cause constant anxiety. So try not to let them build up. Use the advantages of planning. Instead of dedicating several hours in one day to a big task and ignoring it for the rest of the week, spread the workload across several days. That way, you build the habit of step-by-step progress. and you'll stop jumping between tasks. First, you build the habit, then the habit does the work for you. This is what we call self-discipline. Avoid interruptions. Most of the time, our plans fail because we get distracted while working. There can be millions of reasons, a new email, a phone call, a text. To get back into work mode and return to a state of flow, you might need to meditate, recall your goals, fight laziness, work 15 to 20 minutes, and then regain your focus. But you might get interrupted again. To stay focused and perform with full dedication, plan specific periods in your day when all distractions are eliminated. Turn off your phone, close your email client, limit contact with others. Set a rule. Work in uninterrupted blocks. For example, 50 minutes of work followed by a short break. Set aside specific times for checking messages or searching for new tasks. You'll soon notice how quickly you begin to see real results. Track your to-do list. In life, there are many tasks that aren't always smooth, but most of them require a lot of time. If you don't force yourself to do this routine work, chaos in your life becomes inevitable. Just think about all the things that must be done daily or constantly. Grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, paying taxes and bills, taking care of children. And these are just household tasks. If we add work duties, the list grows several times over. These things may not seem important or interesting, but they still have to be done. Big messes happen when we refuse to spend time doing what needs to be done. Piles can form on your desk, kitchen counter, inbox. The real problem is avoiding what must be done. Sometimes you know exactly what needs to be done. Sometimes it's unclear. But ignoring the mess won't solve it. If you're overwhelmed by a mountain of responsibilities, your first step should be to acknowledge the problem and commit to solving it. Routine, boring work is always mentally taxing. Being hardworking doesn't necessarily mean doing something extremely difficult. It's often about how much time you devote to the task. Many things require a lot of time but provide little value. For example, cleaning a cluttered email inbox may take hours. But if you checked your email daily, it'd take only a few minutes. Count how many tasks in your list require plain hard work. There are always a lot of them. Yes, they're boring, but still they must be done. How do you figure out what's stealing most of your time? Write down the start and end times for each task. A journal like this can be a valuable tool to help you see a clearer picture of your day. Set better priorities and figure out what's actually worth your time. Do everything possible to eliminate time wasters. But if a task does require time, don't whine, just do it. By managing your tasks, you increase your level of self-discipline. By building self-discipline, you learn time management. By mastering time management, you build self-confidence. Penalty system. Try implementing a penalty system in your routine. Come up with one yourself or ask a mentor to help. It could be a financial fine or a physical one, like push-ups or squats. You can also use unpleasant chores as a penalty, like washing dishes or cleaning carpets. Now that you have a to-do list, everything on it must be completed. Otherwise, all the planning loses its meaning. So, if you skip a task for any reason, you must accept the penalty that you've assigned yourself. The penalty should be unpleasant enough that missed tasks feel truly undesirable. Learn how to rest properly. Be sure to include rest periods in your daily plan. Rest is absolutely necessary to avoid overwork and prevent stress or depression. Rest can be passive, such as sleep, food, or watching movies, or active, like sports, walks, or travel. Passive rest is needed to restore physical energy, while active rest helps uplift mental energy. As is known, the best rest from work is engaging in another type of work. Rest also aids in the creative process, as it allows for new ideas. Such recommendations will create conditions and habits that help you sleep less and still feel energetic, thus achieving your goal. Planning mistakes. Self-discipline is impossible if you are unable to determine what you can achieve in a day and what can be done over the week. But what if, in your attempts to organize your time, you repeatedly fail? Check whether you are making mistakes when planning. Obvious mistakes and issues in planning are usually noticeable, and you already know how to avoid them. However, there are also several pitfalls that are not so easy to notice. Perhaps you have an inconvenient to-do list. This happens when you choose the wrong goals and criteria for achieving them. In this case, you can't set the right priorities, and you end up wasting your time inefficiently. You may think that prioritizing is an easy task, but it's not that simple, especially when you have many urgent matters. It's important to find the balance between urgent and important tasks. Many urgent matters can be postponed, while important ones require immediate action. Review your plan for the day and determine whether it takes your personal characteristics into account. At what time of the day is your productivity at its peak? When do you need full rest? Knowing and considering your biological rhythm when planning your tasks is crucial for work efficiency. Learn to monitor your well-being at different times of the day and allocate tasks so that the most difficult ones are done during your peak productivity hours. Think about whether you're making one of the biggest mistakes in time management, just imitating constant busyness. If your desk isn't organized properly but you're unwilling to admit it, the disorder will distract you, leading to chaos in your thoughts. If that's the case, you need to find new sources of motivation and start acting instead of pretending. Chapter 5. Nothing is working again. Mistakes and solutions. Many of us are familiar with the so-called New Year's syndrome. Firm promises to start a new life tomorrow, followed by a quick return to old patterns. To overcome this syndrome, many turn to self-discipline improvement techniques. If discipline is the consistent pursuit of order observed externally, self-discipline is the same process but viewed internally and subjectively. On the path of self-discovery, we inevitably stumble, but it's foolish to abandon the process halfway just because it's not completed yet. If your discipline cracks, it means it needs further work. No matter what state you are in after a failure or an unfulfilled promise, just understand that you need to keep working on yourself, be patient, and check if you're truly following the recommendations and if you're ready to work on yourself. Do you need discipline? Any attempt to improve oneself contains a paradox. When an imperfect self tries to make itself perfect, it's like trying to pull oneself out of the swamp by the hair, as the hero of the famous fairy tale did. This paradox is the main enemy of self-discipline. The undisciplined self tries to discipline itself, but in order to succeed in this, it must already possess some discipline. It turns out that we have no chance of becoming self-disciplined in life. Discipline is usually imposed by circumstances. When there's an external necessity, a person effortlessly follows the strictest systems of rules, for example, military service or working in a life-threatening environment. The desire to strengthen one's own discipline usually comes from observing others who are perceived or seem to be more successful and disciplined. In this case, the desire to change one's life stems from low self-esteem. Will you succeed if you try to forcefully copy someone else's routine? In the end, it will lead to nothing, and your self-esteem will get even worse. In an attempt to improve and become more correct, it's as if we're trying to step into someone else's shoes and live their life without knowing ourselves. Denying our own worth, we devalue others and try to become like them, accepting their value system, forgetting about developing our own. Problems with discipline arise when we mistakenly try to force ourselves to do something we don't really want to do or something that contradicts our deeper principles and desires. The issue is not a lack of willpower but a lack of understanding of ourselves and our true desires. The psyche is a complex system that operates under strict laws, and changing established patterns is not easy. Pushing yourself to follow artificial rules gives short-term effects, but this will either end in another inevitable failure or the destruction of your internal integrity. Therefore, the solution to the biggest problem of self-discipline lies in awareness and understanding of your natural motivation. When we know what we want, the issue of discipline doesn't arise. Everything happens on its own. We make all the necessary efforts and act with maximum efficiency. Discipline is conscious submission to current circumstances, not ineffective self-discipline imposed by other circumstances. If you can't make yourself do something, think about whether you really want it. Maybe your true desires are far from what you're trying to do. How to solve this problem? First, return to the beginning of this book, where necessary psychological attitudes are described. Without these, starting self-improvement is useless. Define your goals and positions. Also, for verification, think about who you got the desire to improve from. Who did you envy? Maybe you'll prefer to remain yourself instead of copying someone else. However, avoid extremes and don't chase your own desires. Maybe everything isn't so bad, and your failures are just a transitional period on the way to your new self. The most common mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes is trying to make yourself do two hard things while building a system of self-discipline. If you try to change your whole life by setting 10 new goals and making several detailed plans before bed, don't expect to be ready to act in strict accordance with your plan in the morning. With such an abrupt approach, you'll almost certainly fail. Imagine someone who visits the gym for the first time and tries to lift 150 kilograms in the bench press. This attempt won't bring any result other than disappointment. If, continuing with the analogy, you can lift about 10 kilograms, start with 10 kilograms. There's nothing shameful or inconvenient about starting where you are. Similarly, if you're currently very undisciplined, you can start with small tasks that you can handle. The more disciplined you become, the easier life becomes. Problems that seemed endless to you in the past will eventually seem like a child's play. The more you grow, the easier the previous challenges become. Stop comparing yourself to other people. This path will inevitably lead you to a dead end. If you're looking for someone who is more successful than you and has achieved more, you'll definitely find such a person. If you consider yourself weak, everyone else will seem stronger. If you consider yourself strong, everyone else will seem weak. Therefore, competition can only be with yourself. Your progress should truly interest you. Just look at who you are now and strive to become better. When should you give up? You are always persistent and never give up. Of course, there are no such people. Sometimes, giving up is the most favorable way out of a difficult situation. Think about whether your failures are related to the fact that you and your goals have changed, but you didn't notice. If you're growing, you're becoming a different person than you were the previous year. If you consciously strive for personal development, the changes will be significant and rapid. You can't guarantee that the goal you set today will still interest and excite you a year from now. To make room for new goals, you must let go of the old ones. Sometimes new goals are so exciting that you simply won't have time to achieve old ones. In this case, they should be abandoned. The hardest and most stressful part of this process is the conscious decision to leave an old project behind. It may take a long time to accept this, but if it's necessary for your growth, you must allow it to happen. You are changing, and new interests arise, so it's important to be able to adjust your goals according to your vision of the future. Maybe a few years ago you dreamed of becoming a successful athlete, and now, after achieving some results and getting older, you've developed other interests. You need to make a choice. Continue pursuing something that was once your passion, or follow what has become your passion now. This is a serious decision, so think it through very carefully. You may have to replan your life. Perhaps you will find a goal you'll pursue your whole life. One that will remain unchanged even when you change yourself. In all other cases, be ready for change, but don't confuse your conscious refusal of an old goal in favor of new achievements with simply running away from problems. The boundary is easy to define. If the decision to leave a task comes easily and without overthinking, you've probably just given up. Behavior becomes a pattern that is not easily overcome. To consciously resist this process, one must learn to turn off the protective mechanisms of one's psyche and not use them when they are unnecessary, i.e., when they hinder productivity. The problem of laziness is never solved easily. The first step is to understand what exactly scares you about new tasks. The main fears and ways to overcome them. Fear of making mistakes. This is the most common form of fear. Fear of making a mistake acts as a warning signal that your self-esteem might be affected by reliving negative emotions associated with imperfect results. If at first glance it's unclear how to do something well, fear will prevent you from even starting the task. This way, a person can get trapped in inaction. How to overcome this fear? Accept as a fact that, in reality, there is no fear of making mistakes. There is only the fear of experiencing unpleasant feelings such as shame, embarrassment, frustration, worthlessness, and loneliness. These are the emotions usually caused by criticism and personal experience. The cause of these feelings is usually a job poorly done. Learn to love yourself regardless of the results of your work and not for your achievements. Then the fear of failure will go away on its own. Fear of losing freedom and the pleasure of life. This fear is familiar to those who, in childhood, were too guided by the word must. How does this fear manifest? As soon as you decide to be persistent in achieving your goals, plan your day, and set deadlines for tasks, your nervous system sends a signal of alarm. These signals are usually perceived as a discomfort in some part of the body. If you fear becoming a prisoner of your own plans and regimen, you will react negatively to any attempt at self-discipline. How to overcome this fear? It helps to choose a goal that you truly strive for. Fear of lowering standards. This fear arises if you've had a great experience with some task in the past. If you manage to achieve a great result, you might worry that you won't succeed as well the next time. The fear of lowering standards becomes a problem if insecurity about the next success paralyzes your actions. How to overcome this fear? It is essential to understand that the fear of lowering the standards, like the fear of making a mistake, doesn't really exist. It's just panic at the thought that people will stop loving you if your results are worse than before. This fear arises because your self-esteem depends on others' opinions. Fear of danger. This fear can be caused not only by your own experiences but also by warnings from others. To tame this kind of fear, you should ask yourself the question, what unpleasant things could happen if I proceed with my actions? And list all the possible answers that come to mind. By doing so, you will see that the truly terrible things rarely happen, and you will be able to work out possible solutions to the problems. Fear of disappointment in oneself. If a person is sure that they are talented in a certain field, they may face another mental trap. Fear of disappointment in their abilities. This fear is similar to the fear of failure, as both signal that others might criticize you. Both fears are dangerous traps on the road to success, and both are treated the same way, by gradually building up self-esteem. There are many such fears in our subconscious. They block self-realization, prevent us from starting anything, and keep us from great achievements if we don't deal with them in time. The study of personal fears is an essential step in overcoming laziness. However, mere awareness of the situation won't change anything, and willpower training won't help you deal with the emotional tension you'll feel each time you force yourself to do something you're afraid of. To identify and defeat your fears, they need to be thoroughly examined. Write down a list of questions and answer each one in as much detail as possible. Once you've worked through all the possible actions, the task at hand will no longer seem terrifying, and you'll be able to defeat your fears. Questions for overcoming fear. What unpleasant things could happen if I start acting now and move toward my goal? What difficulties might I face along the way to achieving my dream? What emotions will I feel during this process? What would be the most pleasant and the most unpleasant part of working toward my goal? You can combine questions and ask them repeatedly. Pitfalls of self-development. When we decide to live as we see fit, displeased and offended people such as bosses, spouses, or parents will inevitably appear. Initially, the decision to pursue self-improvement and self-discipline will only bring feelings of loneliness and the sense that the whole world is against you. But always remember that we are only accountable to ourselves. The opinions or approval of others, no matter how close they are, should not matter. You and only you are responsible for your decision to live your life the way you want and to improve yourself. You are responsible for the results of your actions, whether inaction or action. The values and beliefs of others may differ from yours. They will find it difficult to accept your new lifestyle because it contradicts their established views on what is right and wrong. When your new routine conflicts with their established mindset, they may express disapproval. This will lead to inner conflict, and you will constantly ask yourself, maybe the others are right. Does this mean I'm wrong? But once you understand your true self and consciously decide to move forward, others' opinions and judgments cannot threaten you. Only those who doubt themselves and don't know their true selves are afraid of public opinion. As you critically reassess your beliefs and honestly review your life, you'll realize that the only authority you can truly trust is yourself. We often wait for guidance or a push from outside, but in reality, only we know what's best for us. Let others express their opinions about you, whether they praise or criticize you. Their judgments won't take root in your mind unless you accept them as the absolute truth. Conclusion: complex tasks are usually associated with greater results. Conversely, if you want to achieve something, first prepare yourself for hard work. Everyone wants to achieve something and accomplish goals. Without clarity on what you truly need, you can never feel fully happy. You may think that you already have everything you need, or you might deceive yourself into believing that your desires and aspirations don't matter. But the fact remains, you will always want to accomplish something. The purpose of this book is to provide you with tools to help you embark on an exciting journey and ultimately achieve your goals. It's time to take initiative into your hands and stop relying on vain hopes. We often don't make serious efforts to solve our problems and say to ourselves, I hope it works, or I hope I have enough money, or I hope people will buy my product. We constantly hope that someone will help us, take care of us, change our lives for the better, and make us happy. But if we just keep hoping and waiting, nothing will change for the better. It's time to let go of empty hopes. Hope is an uncertain idea of what might happen someday. It's a fantasy on a given topic. Turn your hope into a clear goal. Plan the steps to achieve it. Tell yourself, I am starting now. Hope deprives us of freedom. It is the root of our suffering. We wait for things to change as if by magic, but this tiny voice of hope only leads to disappointment. It prevents us from taking responsibility and acting. Train yourself not to hope, but to act. There is only one way to find out what's right for you. Try different options, seek your goals, and strive to achieve them. The first step is always the hardest. It takes more energy to get started than to continue once you're already moving. Do something, anything. That's the best advice for someone wanting to improve their life. Make a decision even if it turns out to be wrong. Whatever you do is better than sitting still and hoping life will change on its own. If you believe in something with all your heart, it will happen. Don't wait for the perfect moment or for a specific event to start living. Otherwise, you'll spend your life in constant anticipation, never truly living. Once you begin to act and achieve something, you will feel empowered. This will be the most important stage of your life, and it can become the best stage of all. The book was read by Stanislav Ivanov. Dear listeners, let us know what other books you'd like to hear in audio format. Thank you for your likes and comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We wish you all the best.